Welcome to More Patients, More Impact, More Income, the podcast for real holistic medical practitioners who want to grow their high-impact, high-income practice without selling out. And now, here's your host, Chris Axelrad.
When, I was probably 5 years into practice, and I'd finally gotten to where I was starting to have regular 40 patient, 50 patient weeks. And I was starting to get to a place where I couldn't see more patients. Literally, we would be on a wait list. Sometimes people wouldn't be able to get in for 3 weeks. And I realized that what had happened is I'd hit a ceiling. I'd hit a ceiling with my space, and I'd hit a ceiling with my process. And the thing is that what it forced me to do is to take a step back and decide, did I want to grow? Did I want to help more people? Did I want to expand my practice? Did I just want to stay where I was? I could have stayed where I was, raised my prices, and been one of those practitioners that just sees 40 or 50 patients a week forever. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. But in my case, I really wanted to go big. I knew, I'm in Houston, Texas, and this is not like the holistic capital of the world here. And I knew that there weren't a lot of other practitioners who were offering the kind of thing that I was offering, which was what I feel is very unique synergy of acupuncture, functional medicine, herbal medicine, and meditation and things like that. And I was getting really good at it, and I was getting really good results, which is why we were starting to get a lot more referrals. And I realized that, I really wanted to help more people, and it forced me to make a sacrifice. I think we're trained in our field to really focus on customization, and every patient needs to have a completely unique solution. And I get that. And I understand it. And it's easy to do that when we only have, 10 patients, 20 patients, or whatever. But if we want to go big, we have to learn how to systemize things. And the interesting thing is that a lot of acupuncturists and holistic practitioners in general resist this for the very reason that we're taught that for it to be holistic, it can't be practical. For it to be holistic, it must be high effort. It can't be systematic. And I want you to think about nature. Nature is just a massive system. Nature itself depends upon rhythm and process. Every year it's winter, spring, summer, fall. Every year, that's the system, winter, spring, summer, fall. The seed is planted in the ground, it touches water and earth and light, and it grows. That's the rule, that's the system, right? There's the heartbeat, there's the breath, there's high tide and low tide. The moon goes around the earth every 28 days. We circumnavigate the sun every 365 days. We have all of these different rhythms and systems and processes. And why is it then that we resist creating those systems in our practice? So what I did is I started to reduce a little bit the time that I was spending with each patient. And I found all of the little leverage points, we could call it, that I was going to be able to save energy and effort, yet at the same time, actually increase the impact and the results. And over time, I became obsessed with this, and I started to try to optimize every single little thing that I possibly could in my clinic. And what ended up happening was my job became easier. My employees' job became easier. The patient's experience became a lot easier and a lot more streamlined. Something I learned actually is that my patients really craved systematic things. They want things to be very process oriented. It creates boundaries. It creates safety. It creates a space where they can feel protected when there's predictability and there's a systematic process that they go through each time they come into the office. And the fact that we have these rituals and these rhythms to what we do in the office makes really to where the business part of it is just on autopilot. Like when you see a great pianist playing a really, really awesome concerto, like something that's at the top of the spectrum in terms of difficulty, yet they make it look easy, right? That's because for them, it is easy because they've ritualized and systemized all of the different movements and all the different things that they have to do to execute that beautiful piece of music. When we systemize what we're doing that in our clinic around the process that we have, and it will be different depending on the types of patients you treat. If you treat dermatology patients, you might need a different system than if you treat endocrinology patients or orthopedic patients. But the bottom line is the core elements of that system are the same. They are always the same. The efficiencies are always the same. The leverage points are always the same. And the more we can use those things, what happens is we amplify our impact while at the same time reducing our effort. We amplify the energy that people are getting out of our process and out of the experience of being in our clinic. We amplify that while we reduce the amount of effort and energy and hustle and grind that we have to put into the process. So it's a win-win for everybody. What I'm going to tell you is as soon as I started to become more obsessed about optimizing all these systems in my clinic, everything from how we onboard patients, even how we talk to patients when they first call, the sequencing of emails, the way that we sequence the first visit so that the psychology is as clean and efficient and easy as possible to get people to make a commitment. All these things, they're all systemized, they're all scripted. And that allows us to, number one, it also allows us to train new employees really easily. But number two, by systemizing all that, we get to focus on the most awesome part, which is taking care of the patients, caring about the patients, loving our patients, and giving them the treatment that they need, and having the bandwidth, the mental and emotional bandwidth to really tune in on being present and listening and giving them the best possible treatment. Because we're not stuck in the mechanics. We're not slogging our way through all of this difficulty and effort. It's easy, just like that pianist playing that beautiful concerto. And the sooner that you start to systemize things in your practice, the sooner you will be able to expand. Now, at this point, we have 3 locations in my clinic at the point that I'm recording this, and we see 200, 225 patients a week, and it's easy. Like, we are not stressing. And we're probably going to open a 4th location soon. And honestly, we could scale this and expand this as big as we wanted to, because we have a process that works. It's that simple. And the cool thing is the process is not a sellout process. It's not a cookie cutter process. We've managed to implement these systems, yet sustain the integrity and the authenticity that is so crucial to me personally, to make sure that we always have that in our practice.
This is the podcastfactory.com.